One of the biggest discussion points to emerge from our global experience of COVID-19 is just how much will human behavior change when things get back to normal? Is work from home here to stay? Will people want to go into closed public spaces like multiplexes till we have a vaccine? Is eating out soon going to be a distant memory? The pandemic has galvanized a lot of behavioral change. Let's get a sense of what's happening here by talking to a company that has over 300 diverse products in its portfolio and is known for brands like Boro Plus, Navratan, Jhandu Balm, Fair and Handsome, to name just a few. I'm joined now by Harsha Agarwal, director at Emami, the Kolkata-based consumer goods company that's reporting a big shift in the commitment that people are showing to products in the health and hygiene categories. Harsh, it's good to have you join us on the show. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
We are all talking about the kind of behavioral changes that people are exhibiting as a result of the COVID-19 experience and the lockdown to combat it. What are you noticing? What are some of the things that stand out for you through the Emami lens?
Lot many trends which were there, suddenly you see a trajectory change in this last 5 months. From the consumer perspective, people have stopped going into public places, where there are larger crowds as of now. But I believe, going forward, when things become normalized, they will start going back to malls, to cinemas, and so on. But yes, I think from the consumer habits perspective, again, from the perspective of the products they consume, we see a huge trend towards health products, towards hygiene products, and consumers are becoming more health conscious. They are looking for products which are safe, which doesn't have harmful ingredients, and at the same time they are also now much more open towards preventive health products, because earlier, if you see most of the products in India, it was always from the perspective of problem and solution, be it in most of the categories.
Yes.
Now, what, this is one of the big change that we are seeing, people are, because they want to prevent.
So they want preemptive action with regard to their health and safety.
Absolutely.
Where other companies, in many sectors have had to just shut shop and wait till the lockdowns were opened or relaxed in different parts of the country, FMCG and consumer goods have been working overtime. I'm guessing that after the first month or so of absolute disruption when it comes to the supply chain and the distribution chain, that your companies and your operations have been working overtime. Give me a sense of what is the opportunity that was present that made Emami do as many as 12 launches, I believe, in the first quarter of this new financial year.
Absolutely right. FMCG is one of the few industry, which has done well in this challenging times. From our perspective, we had some very strong brands where we saw that, there was a very clear right to win for us from the perspective of, we had a brand called Boro Plus, where we believed, because being an antiseptic cream consumer, and it's a very old brand, very, very trusted brand. And there was a very natural shift and very natural extension into the hygiene categories from that perspective. So we entered into sanitizers. We have launched health soaps. We have also launching health hand wash in the Boro Plus, and we really see a lot of opportunity there. Apart from that, we have a brand called Jhandu, which is into healthcare again, which is more than 100-year-old brand.
Yes.
Again, very trusted, crores of people using it, and we already have a plethora of products. But what we could immediately see that, there is going to be a big shift towards immunity, consumers really wanting to have immunity based products. As a company, we evaluated and how quickly, how we can launch products in these two segments, so that we can maximize the opportunity that this COVID had thrown up onto us. we are also in the process of launching a range of products in the home care category, because that is another segment which we believe is has taken up really well. And we were not present in any of these segments. So I think it was a very good opportunity for us to expand into this whole portfolio and launch products.
It's interesting to hear that the COVID-19 impact has been the entry of Emami into new categories with a whole bunch of new products. Would I be right in saying that if COVID-19 had not happened, you would not have done this?
For any company, it's very important to be agile,
Yes.
flexible. So yes, as a company, we had plans and we had strategy to enter into few categories, but looking into the COVID and the opportunity, and when we saw the consumer trend and what consumers were looking for, we very quickly changed our strategy and decided to enter into these categories, initially and right now very quickly as soon as possible.
I believe that these new launches have together contributed to about 5% of the domestic sales in this first quarter. Is that possible normally for new brands, for new products to do that kind of business so quickly? What is the marketing support that was needed, or was it that the environment allowed for a lot of consumer pull and you didn't have as a company to do that much push where this portfolio was concerned?
We believed we had very strong brands, and hence we had this right to win.
Right.
Suppose even if I take the example of sanitizer, right? We know that hundreds of companies entered into this segment, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, I believe, most of them are just looking at it from the perspective of, from a very short-term perspective, how to take advantage of that in this few months. But what we believe is, this trend of consciousness towards hygiene is going to continue. And we are here to play a long game rather than, being very, very opportunistic from a short-term perspective. Because BoroPlus was a trusted brand, obviously, that really helped
Yes.
in consumers accepting the new products that we launched in the market. Our supply chain was really geared up, and somehow, we could distribute the products really well. And apart from, yes, one of the biggest challenge was also, how do you get all the raw materials, packing materials, and then production, because even now,
Yes.
though in broader terms, lockdown is not there, but, challenges at local level continues,
Of course.
where sometimes, here, sometimes in districts, sometimes even in your production units, if there are COVIDs, etc. So the containment zones are big. So those challenges are always there, but as company, we need to manage that. We need to be very agile and flexible to manage that. You have to support the products that you have launched. Maybe, initially for some time, because of the very strong tailwind, the where the retailers, where the consumers are looking for this
Yes.
product, it will help you. But at the same time, I think going forward, we have a lot of plans to invest behind these products in traditional medias, even in the digital media.
How do you see the role that digital media will play, and what is the role that television, which is the favorite and the mainstay of consumer goods traditionally, what are the two roles that these two media will play for your brands, Harsh?
Digital media, or this digital age throws open again, a lot of opportunities for everyone. So there is no doubt that, it makes the overall media planning going to the consumers also much more complex, but at the same time, opportunities also. Uh, for us, what we believe, yes, I would say it's not the question of whether we can now shift from the traditional media to the digital media. I think it will be the right mix, and depending on the different brands. So maybe, because many of our brands are targeted toward the masses,
Yes.
right? And hence I believe, for them, the traditional media will still play a very, very important role, because that is what really gives you a very large reach, a very it gives you the visibility that a mass brand looks for. In marketing, brand is interested in communicating this story or communicating to the consumers.
Yes.
Now, earlier there were few medias, like TV, like press, like radio, or maybe the outdoor media which were available to communicate to the consumers whatever a marketer has to do. Now, there is also this digital media, which I would say, really opens a lot of opportunity even for the marketers to be more creative, to be more innovative, and to be even more targeted in terms of targeting a set of consumers to reduce wastage. They can be more focused. So I think, I look at it, more from the perspective of overall 360-degree.
I want to talk about the portfolio of men's deodorants, men's toiletries, and of course Fair and Handsome, which is the big giant brand in that portfolio. How has that fared overall, given that grooming, and this desire to look and present yourself to the outside world has been on a low priority? So how has COVID-19 impacted this very vital part of your Emami portfolio?
Men's grooming particularly is one category, where because it being a discretionary spend from the consumer's point of view, we have seen, that the consumer spending in this category has come down at this time. And in many of these segments, we see even the penetration level going down by 20-25% at this time, if I look at the month of June, right? But what I believe, going forward, it is bound to improve because men, they really want to look good. Now, yes, they are not going out, and hence they need not maybe use DOs as much as they need to or they would have liked to. They don't need to use hair gels, maybe, which they would have used while going out in the evening or at night. So, yes, some of these categories, the need at this point of time is reduced. But going forward, when the things become more normalized, I think the bigger and the larger trend for the men to look good, to be groomed well, will continue, and the desire to look well is only going to increase.
I want to now talk a little bit about Fair and Handsome. The desire to look good, the desire to be fair is something that men have, is something that your company, Emami, actually put out there overtly, isn't it, all those years ago? The fact that men were using fairness creams is something that everybody knew, but you guys went and put it out there and managed to create a market for men's fairness products. But Harsh, today we are in 2020. We see the global backlash to products which sort of perpetuate this bias for fairness, colorism as it's called in the Indian context, racism as it's called in a global context. We know that your competitor, the mammoth Hindustan Unilever, has actually gone and done a name change for its famous fairness cream. Do you think, Harsh, that this product, a fairness cream, is anachronistic at this point of time?
See, what I would say, as a company, we have always been very conscious about the sentiments of the consumers.
Sure.
And whatever we do now, even in the past, now or going forward, we'll always respect the consumer sentiments. And whatever actions we take, whatever we do, we'll be keeping in mind the consumer sentiments.
In the Indian context, this kind of global outcry or protest against colorism and skin bias, skin tone bias, do you see that being irrelevant in the Indian context then, Harsh?
See, India is a very, very large country. There are crores and crores of consumers. And different consumers, different people have different perspective toward things, right? So what I can say again, in this regard is that yes, if we see the fairness category from the perspective, even the Nielsen reports, etc. So it has been growing over years, and even now it has been growing, which very clearly shows and demonstrates that the desire for the consumers to look fair is there.
And you don't want to put a value judgment to that desire.
Yeah, as I said, we'll respect the consumer sentiments and basis that, yeah, we are present there in this segment, right? Similarly, like many other companies like Unilever, etc., are present in this segment and in this category, right? So yes, going forward, yes, see, the whole world is changing, the consumers' preferences are changing, and companies need to keep evaluating their strategy and change it according to the need of the consumers, right?
Right. And at this point, there is no need, you're saying, where fairness products are concerned in a country like India.
We are evaluating. We are also, working with the consumers as to, what are the changes, what are their need in today's time, etc., and what are the changes that we need to bring in our strategy. So that is what we are also doing. We are also evaluating.
I know it's sub judice, but we know the Bombay High Court has reserved judgment. But I'm curious about the fact that, when you all did that really bold decision of going and creating the Fair and Handsome brand, why would you want to, what would the benefit be of having a Glow and Handsome brand when Fair and Handsome is such a well-recognized, and pioneer of that category?
See, as you rightly said, the matter is sub judice, so it would not be right for me to comment anything on this matter because this is sub judice. So I would, like to let's wait.
All right, Harsh, if you feel that we can pick that up at a later date, this conversation. Give me
I think will always be a right time for that.
okay. Harsh, give me a sense of the rural market. You talked about how a lot of the brands in your portfolio are mass market brands and you do have a penetration in the rural markets. What kind of consumer demand, what kind of impact are you seeing in these markets of COVID-19, of the lockdown, and the overall economic scenario that has been slowing down or that had been slowing down even before COVID-19 blindsided us?
Now, after COVID, post COVID, what we are seeing certainly the rural markets are performing better than the
Yes.
urban market, and that is due to many factors. I would say, one is certainly the reverse migration that has happened. Number two, the various schemes of the government, to put money in the hands of the farmers, the rural people is something, which is also going to help. And thirdly, what we believe is that the farming sector has done well uh,
Yes.
the past few months and going forward also, because what we keep hearing and what I've read is that the overall acreage of farming has really gone up, by to the extent of 15-20%, which is certainly not small, and which means the farmers' income, the money in their hand to spend will also go up. And as a company, because we believe we have the right SKUs, from the perspective of low priced unit, single use packs, etc., which are already there. So we are getting advantage of that, and going forward also, it will be a very important part of our overall strategy.
One of the things associated with Emami's marketing strategy across brands over the years, of course, has been, the galaxy of celebrity endorsers who, whether it's a film star or a sports star, whether it's Amitabh Bachchan or Saurav Ganguly and everybody else in between associated with many of your brands. Now that we have the, Central Consumer Protection Authority set up under the Consumer Protection Act, do you see celebrities becoming a little more cautious about endorsing brands? Of course, no, I don't mean Emami. I mean, in general, brand endorsements by celebrities, given that, there is actual penalization that is possible under this law that has come into force this year.
We have been using celebrities for the last 25-30 years. We were one of the pioneers in that. My experience has been key that there are two things here. One is the company, and second are the celebrities. So, as a company, I think it is our responsibility to ensure that whatever claims we are making in the advertisements are the right claims, are the justified claims, and what we can make,
Of course.
right? And hence, I think that actually really takes care of all the issues, which are there in that law. And from the celebrity perspective also, my experience has been, they have always been particular, maybe some a bit more, some a bit less, but always very particular to not claim or not say anything, which they believe is not right, right? And they always trusted us as a company. They knew that, if we are claiming something, so we have those data to back it up, to back up those claims. And going forward, yes, I think the responsibility, I think it's a good thing to have, because maybe there were many fly by night operators,
Of
the smaller
course.
companies, sometimes, they used to make whatever claims they just, felt like. So it will certainly help in controlling that. And to a certain extent, ASCII was already there
Yes.
and was taking care of that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned ASCII, because I was just going to ask you the Central Consumer Protection Authority that's going to be created as a result of this act. Do you think that the ASCII code should be the starting point, or do you think that this authority should have a new code starting from scratch? How would you weigh in on this?
See, my belief, it should be something new, right? And I think still there are a lot many gray areas. ASCII has been there for many years. So yes, there can be a lot of learnings taken from that. But I think a new perspective needs to be added, keeping in mind the the time which has changed, because again, the online media, the influencers, etc., how do you take care of that? So you need to build on all those things as well.
We are talking at a time when a lot of different companies in a lot of different sectors have gone through severe, serious pain. And the consumer goods companies or the sector has been relatively better performing. How do you see the overall economic environment impact your future potential in terms of volume growth and revenues in this coming year? We're getting towards the close of the second quarter.
See, certainly the macroeconomic scenarios are, I would say, challenging, but it is at the same time it is improving, no doubt about that. Things were very bad in April, even for us, for any FMCG company, things were really bad in April, but it started improving from May, and June was better, July was even better, and so on, right? So going forward, what we believe is that key overall, with the strategy that we have of new products, the existing products pool that is there, we are in many of the right segments, be it health, be it hygiene, and uh, uh, be it many other brands like even Navratna or even Jhandu Balm. So keeping those things in perspective, I don't see much of a challenge going forward, because from here, I think things should only improve. In July also, we have seen a double-digit growth. So going forward also, what I feel the trend is good, and hopefully we are able to maintain this unless some really unforeseen challenges or
Sure.
things come up.
Right. Harsh, thank you very much for sharing those insights and the experience at Emami in these last few months. Thank you for making time, and I wish you and your entire team a lot of good luck.
Thank you. The pleasure was entirely mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Do stay tuned to CNBC TV 18 for all the news and analysis as it comes in.